video, and today we are going to talk about GCSE, food preparation and nutrition, a course introduction and overview. So let's talk about GCSE, food and nutrition. All right, so they have an assessment, and assessment is broken down into 3 parts. So food preparation and nutrition, this is the written part of the course. All right, so you have 100 marks, and in that 100 marks, you will be given 10 questions. And that paper will last for 1 hour and 30 minutes. Yeah. And you will be only getting one paper, only one paper, right? Then you have a food investigation task, which the mark is 45, and we call it NEA 1. That's the first assessment that you will do. So you will do a task, right? And I'm going to explain further. The next one is food preparation task. And this mark is out of 105. And we normally call this one NEA 2. All right. So this is the overview. So for the preparation, food preparation and nutrition is an exam, written exam, as I mentioned before, is value 50% of your grade, right? So as I mentioned above, is 100 marks, 10 questions. Yeah. The next one is 15% and it's 45 marks, and it's called a food investigation task. And the next one is 35, where you actually cook, and you get 35%, 105 marks, and I will explain further. But before I explain the NEA 1 and NEA 2, let's go into the topics that you have to cover for that 50%. So you have section 1, which talk about nutrition. Section 2, talk about food provenance and food choice. Section 3, talk about cooking and food preparation. And the final section is section D, where we teach the content, skills, requirements, preparation, and cooking techniques. So let's go into the section 1. So in section 1, we have topics like the relationship between diet and health. So you have the topic diet and health, right? Then we have nutritional needs for different groups. So different groups would be like the toddler, the elderly, the teenagers, and the list goes on. Next, you'll have nutritional needs with selected recipe. So you'll get nutritional needs with different recipe from different groups of people. Another topic that we cover on the nutrition will be energy balance. And finally, the big topic, nutrients, where we have macronutrients and micronutrients, where we have protein, fat, carbohydrates, vitamins, minerals, and of course, water. The next section covered on the 50% will be topics like food source and supplies, food processing and production. So we talk about the cheese and the milk and all those production that comes with it. Food security. We talk about technological development to support better health and food production. And of course, we have different cuisine from the British cuisine. Yes, so you develop different culture, and then factors influencing those food choices. In section C, however, you have food science, food science, then you have sensory properties and food safety. And the final one will be knife skills, preparation and techniques, cooking method like radiation, conduction, convection, and then you talk about the moist eat method and the dry eat method, and this goes on. Sauces, set of mixture, raising agents, dough, and you judge some properties of sensory. And this is just a mark scheme or a sample of the mark scheme for NEA 1, which is the 15% I was talking to you about, right? So it consists of 45 marks, and you have a range. So you have section, for instance, the planning section. For instance, if you chose the topic caramelization, you have to talk about what is caramelization, the functional and chemical properties of caramelization, the different types. Why did you choose this project? And the list goes on. So if you have all of those elements, then of course, you will have the mark from 7 to 9 if you have an excellent thorough research. If it's not that good, then you know you get a 0. And then if you just do a basic, so you get from range 1 to 3. The investigation task, however, is a big we'll say chunk or load of marks, which is 21 marks. So you'll do an investigation. So for instance, you'll test the sugars. You have different types of sugar, for instance, caster sugar, iceland sugar, different types of sugars. And then you test the reaction when you put it on the stove. What is it that you see? Then you test the temperature, the color changes, all of those. And then you'll get graphs. So you'll do a graph to compare the caster sugar with the iceland sugar to see the reaction, and what are the changes that you see scientifically. And then 9 marks will be the product. What are your options? What are your what are your viewpoints when you're doing that investigation task? And the range is from 7 to 9 if you do a good comprehensive analysis of that range. And then if you're weak in explaining your response, then you'll get 1 to 3 marks. And the final one is, of course, conclusion. Some person will say evaluation. Then you evaluate the entire project. What are the observations that you saw? What are some dishes that you can do related to caramelization and stuff like that? And it's value 45 marks. So that is the sample of the mark scheme. The next one I'm going to show you is a sample of the product with the 35 marks, in which you have 3 dishes that you will do. So the 3 dishes, before you do those 3 dishes, you have some component that you have to do, yeah? So you have to have a plan. What are the costs for those food items? First, you have to choose a topic or a question, sorry. So this year question was either you do question with eggs, so you get dishes related to eggs, or you get dishes that contain iron, right? So for instance, I'm going to use eggs. So I can have appetizer using eggs, a main dish. I can have a dessert. So I can have devil's egg for my appetizer, for example. I can have a quiche in which I use egg to make my main dish. And I can have a cake, yeah, using egg. So those are examples that you can do. So you have to have 3 dishes. So if you have your 3 dishes and you're planning, meaning that you have the cost of the food items, where the food's coming from, those nutritional value, all of those components, then you'll get 17 to 20 marks. If you don't have all of those, then it's 1 to 4. The next one is the method of cooking that you choose to do. And you have to show examples. You have to have photos. You have to have evidence of all of what you're doing. So when you're cooking, you have to take photos of your different steps and stuff to show your skills, which is 25 marks. Then presentation. So when you cook and you plan, you do your time plan, then you do a presentation, which is 25 marks. So do you do any garnishing? Do you put your plate nicely on the food, nicely on the dishes? All of those are counted. And then the final one, you have to have person to test your food items. So your friends can come, your teachers can come and say, okay, this is nice. Maybe it's too salt, maybe it's too spicy, and the list goes on. And that is out of 15 marks. So everything count out is 105 marks. So these are some dishes some students did. I'm just going to show you 3 dishes. So these are some dishes that they did, which was fabulous. All right, so thank you so much, and I hope you learned something today.